When it comes to places we still don't fully understand, the Amazon rainforest is at the very top of the list. Despite all the destruction happening around its edges, it remains one of the most mysterious places on Earth. Within the rainforest, there are monsters and they come in all shapes, sizes, and levels of danger. With that in mind, here are the 20 largest Amazon monsters ever discovered. Number 20. The golden poison dart frog. Now, it's a very rare thing that we get to talk about frogs being dangerous, but even if you wish to get biblical and talk about certain plagues, well, that wasn't a deadly thing, it was just really annoying for the Egyptians. But as nature has a way, there is always something to be worried about with each species, and with the golden poison dart frog, aka the poison dart frog to most, this is a creature that you should never ever touch ever. The reason is that their bodies produce an incredibly deadly toxin that covers their entire skin, and that way, if predators even think about coming after them, the frog will get the last laugh by either touching them and poisoning them, or allowing that poison to kill them from the inside out should they even dare to try and eat it. Curiously though, that toxin that is produced by the frog is so deadly that it's actually not known how the frog is immune to the toxin itself. More than likely it evolved from some kind of immunity that ensures that it can emit it without being taken by its own self-defense mechanism. Now, as for why it's called the golden poison dart frog, that would be because the native people of Colombia learned about how deadly the toxin was and was able to kill the frog safely and then put the poison on the tips of their darts. As a result, they could take out prey of all types just by hitting them with the tip. That should further quantify how effective it is. So yeah, if you're ever at the Colombian side of the Amazon rainforest, don't even think about going and touching any golden frogs that you see, because if you avoid them, you may actually end up living longer. Number 19. The Giant River Otter. We're going to switch gears here to talk about a creature that is honestly not so monstrous like many of the ones that I'll be discussing, but instead it was dubbed a monster by humanity, and as a result it's actually close to extinction. I'm talking about the Giant River Otter. And yes, they are quite giant, as an adult can be up to 1.8 meters in length, making it the largest of the otter line. Yet they have a very refined social structure and they're not as much of a threat as people think. But did that stop them from being hunted down? Well, no. There was a point where they were being hunted solely because they were nuisances, and then when they found out that the otter pelts were valuable, they hunted them in great numbers for that, and that's why they were eventually put on the endangered species list. Many feel that there are less than 5,000 of them left in the world today. Isn't that a tragedy? People simply didn't like these otters and so they hunted them down and went further for profit. It's reasoning like that which may be the doom of our world if we're not careful in the future. Number 18. The Harpy eagle. While birds may not be the biggest threats of the Amazon forest, it should be noted right off the bat that there are plenty of them out there to find if you know where to look. Many of them are simple exotic birds that are pretty to look at, and then there's the Harpy eagle. This is one of the largest eagle species in the world and is yet another apex predator of the Amazon. They are able to fly around, swoop down, and get their prey with their talons before the creature even realizes what's happening to it. The large talons can exert several hundred kilograms of pressure and force, which can crush the bones of their prey and instantly kill them. So yes, that's a thing that they can do. Now, what may surprise you the most is that they have rather long lives. They're said to live up to 35 years, meaning they're a constant and consistent threat in the Amazon. And no, humans don't really have to worry about them that much, but do you really want to take the risk? I surely would not recommend it. Number 17. The black cayman. The Amazon is an absolutely perfect place for alligators and crocodiles to live in and thrive. Well, yes and no. Yes, it is the perfect place for them to dominate the local wildlife, but I'm technically not talking about either here. Instead, the black cayman is a crocodilian. The black cayman is the largest predator in the Amazon ecosystem, potentially capable of taking any animal within its range, and that also includes other predators. And just to be clear, I'm saying largest and not longest because that would go to a certain snake that I talked about at the beginning of this video. But the fact that the cayman is so dangerous that it can take on anyone and anything within this massive rainforest should give you pause. Oh, and before you ask, yes, the black cayman is absolutely something that will go after a human and try to take them out of this world, and it has attacked humans in the past. What arguably makes it one of the most dangerous monsters on this list is the fact that it has a dark skin tone which allows it to blend into the local waters. It also hunts at night, meaning that it'll camouflage perfectly with everything around it and can sneak up on its prey without them getting wise that there are dangers literally right beside them. Just as monstrous, while they are fine with catching all manner of food, they don't bite it to death as you would expect. Instead, they will grab it, drag it into the water, and let the prey drown before slowly consuming it, which is just a bit sadistic really. No matter what time of the day, you should always be wary of the waters that the cayman exists in, because you'll likely never know where it is until it's simply too late. Number 16. The giant anteater. Well, I'm sure that something as small as an ant would view the giant anteater as a monster, but should humans do the same? Well, it depends on how you want to define the monsters that you fear. For example, the giant anteater is indeed a giant among its kin, and it's said to be the size of a golden retriever. What might freak you out is that it has a sense of smell that not only dwarfs the humans, but it actually puts it to shame. Now, it's 40 times more powerful than the average human nose, and that's why it's able to find all of those anthills that it just loves to snack on. A unique twist in all of this is that it won't just go to town and snack on the colony forever. These creatures are actually vulnerable to ant bites, so it may eat for about a minute while it has the element of surprise, and then it simply moves on. Now it's time for today's topic. In 2025, fisherman Luis Andrade was casting his nets along a remote stretch of the Amazon River near the outskirts of Tef when something violently pulled his boat off course. At first, he thought it was a snag on submerged wood, but the water began to churn unnaturally. When he finally hauled part of the net up, he froze. Tangled within it was a massive reptilian creature, far larger than any known black cayman, with a broader skull and unusually pronounced ridges along its back. Luis cut the net in panic and fled. Days later, he shared shaky footage with researchers from the National Institute of Amazonian Research, who admitted they had no clear explanation for what he encountered. Number 15. Red-bellied piranha. You were probably waiting for piranhas to show up. I mean, after all, when it comes to river monsters that live in the Amazon waters, what's more dangerous than a piranha? You've seen them in movies and TV, and they're often depicted in a really harsh light. You may be surprised, though. I mean, after all, while piranhas are dangerous and can absolutely be scary when you see a swarm of them in the water, ones like the red-bellied piranha are not exactly something you have to fear on a regular basis. For example, while they are aggressive at times when it comes to eating, they're actually omnivores and not carnivores. To that end, they are quite fine with eating plants versus going after any kind of meat, which is probably not what you expected. But it gets even more weird than that. You see, not only do they not go after meat all the time, they've been dubbed the vultures of the water, meaning that they're actually more akin to being a scavenger than full-on ravenous hunters. Adding to all of that is the fact that they only tend to go after animals that are already dead or dying. That way they can just get the meal without having to be interrupted or losing it. And if you still want more, while movies do love to show piranhas in massive groups that can devour things in an instant, like people down to the bone, they actually don't eat as a pack. The red-bellied piranha only uses their groups to fend off predators. But that's the thing about nature and pop culture. It's not meant to go hand in hand. There are a lot of people who have exaggerated the nature and stylings of the piranha for a long time now, not unlike with sharks. And as such, people will fear them when they should only be somewhat cautious. Yes, you do not want to antagonize a piranha, of course, but you also don't need to be on the lookout, or peering over your shoulder or into the water and expecting them to jump into your boat and eat you alive. Number 14. The electric eel. Next up is another classic river monster that is both an incredible threat and yet one that may not be as dangerous as you would expect. The electric eel absolutely lives up to its name regarding its ability. Within its body are special organs that can build up an electrical charge that can be released at 650 volts, and for the record, that's more than the wall socket you likely have in your house. And some even claim that they can get to over 800 volts in that discharge. It's shocking, I know. But I'll ask you the question, is this a deadly jolt? Well, it kind of depends on the circumstances. This eel, that is not actually an eel, uses the water to help amplify the electrical charge to either stun or potentially kill its prey or predators. So does that mean that it can kill a human? Well, not necessarily. It won't even attack a human unless it's provoked, and even then, unless you're fully submerged in the water and in poor health or something, the worst that you're likely to get is just a good shock, if not being stunned for a moment. Talk about a bolt from the blue, right? Number 13. The giant stingray. Here's a creature that is definitely monstrous in size and could be a danger to humans if you're not careful. But in general, the giant stingray is one that merely wants to be left alone as it wanders through rivers and other bodies of water. The biggest one ever caught was not actually in South America. It was in Asia, and it was a 4-meter-long stingray that weighed over 300 kilograms, which is really big. So you can just imagine how long the stinger is. And to be clear, yes, the stinger is something you should fear, and it does have toxins that can hurt a human, but they aren't aggressive creatures. So if you don't mess with them, you'll have no reason to think about it stinging you. And so the lesson here is be smart and you should be fine until you do something stupid, and then that stinger is going to go right through you, including potentially through your bones. Number 12. Giant armadillo. Now, if you are one to freak out over a giant armadillo, then you must really be scared. I mean, a giant armadillo, it's not really something to be freaking out about on the regular. So then why is it on this list? Well, that's because it has giant in the title. We do need higher standards for monsters here. How big is this armadillo? Well, it can get to 100 centimeters in length and weigh up to 54 kilograms, so it is a big boy. But again, it's not exactly one that you should immediately fear just because it's big. The case in point, the giant armadillo prefers termites and some ants as its prey, and it often consumes the entire population of a termite mound. So that makes it a bit more aggressive than the anteater, and so that should tell you something about its appetite and what it needs to actually feel full. Number 11. The tapir. Next up is a creature that I'm not sure I would actually call a monster, but it is something that you should look out for just to be on the safe side. The tapir is a creature that's been around for millions of years, and to that end, it hasn't really changed much during that time. That makes it a primitive creature due to how it's not evolved unlike most animals on Earth. That all being said, you should not mock this creature because it is quite long and heavy. It can be over 2 meters in length and weigh over 400 kilograms. So yes, it definitely has mass. And while they're often the victims of local predators, which includes big cats and crocs, they have really tough hides and have a bite that can ward them off if they're able to get a good shot or two in. They may be primitive, but they know how to survive and are actually key parts in the survival of the rainforest ecosystem. Number 10. The capybara. Now, if you're somebody who goes around calling the capybara a monster, you really need to have your humanity checked. I mean, yeah, they are rodents. Cool, kind of rodent you can actually keep one as a pet. Standing at 60 centimeters tall and looking like they know more than you with their classic expressions. The capybara is the largest rodent in the world today. Even New York City rats do not match up to this creature. Water is a source of life for the capybara as they eat water plants and grasses and use the water shelf to escape from danger. Plus, if they do feel threatened, they can be completely submerged in water for a few minutes without any issues until their predator gets bored and goes away. To show you how some people don't view them as monsters, capybaras are actually a popular exotic pet for people to try and own, and though you often need to buy 2 at once because they are social animals and they don't do well by themselves. Number 9. Jaguars. Now it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that there is a big cat in the Amazon rainforest, or even several. I mean, after all, why wouldn't there be? The twist is that the jaguar is the only big cat in North and South America. No, mountain lions do not count. And just to put rankings in your head, the jaguar is the 3rd biggest cat out there, only behind the lion and the tiger. But what really separates them from the 2 big cats above them is how they act and hunt. Unlike lions and tigers, they live a solitary life. They do not hunt in groups or even have a pride. And furthermore, they're more than capable of swimming and being good hunters in the water. Because of that, they have apex predator status in the Amazon, and they'll even go after other apex predators if they're feeling bold. Now, with their sleek bodies and powerful jaws, they can get to where they want to be quickly and dispatch with prey in only a few bites. In other words, you don't want to mess with one if you're unlucky enough to cross them. Number 8. Green anaconda. So what kind of monster should I talk next? Well, it's hard to go wrong with a snake. I mean, after all, Indiana Jones can't seem to stand them, so why should other people? Plus, this isn't just a regular snake that I'm going to be talking about. It is the massive green anaconda, one of the biggest snakes in the world, and it is in fact the largest and heaviest snake in the world regarding body mass. By that, I refer to how this snake can sometimes be over 7 meters long and weigh around 277 kilograms at times. The irony here is that many of those measurements for the green anaconda are based on ones that have been caught and measured, so it's possible that there are those out there that are even bigger, longer, and heavier just waiting to be found. But what makes them so monstrous is that they are apex predators, meaning that they have no natural predators that they have to fear, and that means that they can feast on just about anything that they want. And when they do, it is not pretty at all. You see, these are the kind of snakes that love to swallow their prey whole, and they're more than capable of doing that even if the prey that they're after is much larger than their mouths can fit in. Now they'll just dislocate their jaw and force the food inside. And so if you were to ever find one of these in the Amazon and it has a huge bulge in its stomach, that means that it's recently eaten and it is very slowly digesting its food. Another thing that makes it monstrous is that it can exist pretty much anywhere, on land, in nearby rivers, and it can even climb trees to get its food. For this snake, nothing is out of reach. The good news is that they don't eat humans, so even if you went to the Amazon right now, you wouldn't have to fear this snake unless you gave it a reason to attack you. Number 7. Arapaima. The Arapaima is the largest freshwater fish in the entire world, and when you see one at its full length, it's around 3 meters long. So yes, the phrase "that's a big catch" would definitely apply to this fish if you were to get one. Its length is not what makes it a monster though. It definitely helps. But instead, the reason that it's quite monstrous is because of its armor. That's right, this is an armored fish. Its scales have a mineralized hard outer layer with a corrugated surface, under which lie several layers of collagen fibers in some kind of arrangement. In other words, its scales can make its outer body as hard as plywood, if not harder. Yet despite having all that armor, it's incredibly flexible and able to move around in the water with ease. Curiously, despite it being a freshwater fish, it needs surface oxygen to survive, so it has to keep surfacing to breathe. Number 6. The green iguana. Now at first you may think that the green iguana doesn't belong on a list of monsters from the Amazon, but as in all things, there are ways for something harmless to become quite harmful. In this case, while the green iguana is known for being non-aggressive and something that many people will keep as a pet, it is also one of the worst invasive species in North and South America. You may remember that Florida is a nesting ground for all sorts of invasive species due to people bringing in exotic animals and then simply letting them loose, and the green iguana was one of those animals. It's so invasive in Florida that there are jobs where you literally go around and delicately put an iguana out of its existence so that they can't repopulate. Think about that for a moment. Oh, and if you think it's not real, it was actually on an episode of Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe. Number 5. The Amazonian manatee. You probably didn't expect to see this kind of creature on the list. I mean, while few would call something like an Amazonian manatee a monster, you do have to admit that it's a rather large creature and something that has been known to attract the wrong kind of attention, which is why it's become endangered. Amazonian manatees occur throughout the Amazon basin in countries like Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Brazil. They live in freshwater oxbows, blackwater lakes, and lagoons, which all have deep connections to big rivers and plenty of aquatic vegetation. These environments provide them with the calm, plant-rich waters they need to survive and thrive. Manatees spend much of their time slowly grazing on aquatic plants, moving gently through the water with almost effortless motion. Their massive bodies can reach lengths of over 9 feet, yet they move with a surprising grace that matches their peaceful nature. They surface quietly to breathe, often barely disturbing the water around them. Because of their slow movement and calm demeanor, they are particularly vulnerable to human activities such as hunting and boat collisions. In some regions, they are also affected by habitat loss as waterways are altered or polluted. Observing one in the wild is considered a rare and special experience, as they tend to avoid areas with heavy human presence. Despite their size, they rely on subtle movements and quiet behavior to navigate their environment. Their role in the ecosystem is important, as they help maintain the balance of aquatic vegetation. As their numbers decline, it reflects broader environmental challenges facing the Amazon basin. These creatures are the true definition of a gentle giant, and they wouldn't hurt anyone intentionally. However, humanity has hunted them down for quite a time, and that's why they're a vulnerable species today. Plus, it's hard to track their population numbers, and so nobody really knows how many of them are actually out there. Number 4. The Goliath bird-eater tarantula. How is it that we've gone this long in this list and we're only just now getting to spiders? I mean, they're spiders that makes them monsters by default, right? And the fact that I'm talking about the Goliath bird-eater tarantula makes me want to scream in terror because I now have to look at video footage of it. These massive spiders are native to the rainforests of northern South America, where they lurk on the forest floor among leaf litter and burrows. Their size alone is enough to make most people uneasy, especially when you see their thick, hairy legs stretching outward. When threatened, they can produce a hissing sound by rubbing parts of their body together, which adds to their intimidating presence. They also possess urticating hairs that they can flick toward predators, causing irritation and discomfort. Despite their fearsome appearance, they are relatively slow-moving and tend to avoid confrontation whenever possible. Watching one move across the ground can feel surreal, as its sheer size makes it look almost unreal. In the wild, they rely on stealth rather than speed, waiting patiently for prey to come within striking distance. Their venom is not considered dangerous to humans, but their bite can still be painful. Many people who encounter them for the first time describe a mix of fascination and fear. It's one of those creatures that challenges your instincts, forcing you to look even when you want to look away. Yes, it is quite the large spider and the biggest spider in the world when it comes to mass, as it can be up to 13 centimeters and weigh about 6.2 ounces. But the irony of everything is that it honestly doesn't eat birds all that much. However, it has been spotted eating things like hummingbirds, so it's not out of their wheelhouse. Number 3. The spectacled bear. Surprise, there are actually bears in the Amazon rainforest, and the spectacled bear is actually the only native species to South America. So if you were to see one, you're seeing something rather unique. These bears are named for the distinctive light-colored markings around their eyes, which can look like a pair of spectacles. Each bear has a unique pattern, making it possible to identify individuals just by their facial markings. They are excellent climbers and spend a surprising amount of time high up in trees, building platforms to rest or feed. In the dense forests, they often move quietly, making sightings rare even in areas where they are known to live. Their diet is mostly plant-based, including fruits, bromeliads, and cactus, although they will occasionally eat small animals. Because of this, they play an important role in spreading seeds throughout the forest, helping maintain the ecosystem. Some locals consider them shy and elusive, while others remain cautious due to their size and strength. Encounters with humans are uncommon, but when they do happen, they are usually brief and non-aggressive. Despite their peaceful nature, misunderstanding, and fear have shaped how people treat them. Over time, these perceptions have contributed to the threats they face in the wild. As you could imagine, people have mixed views on the spectacled bear due to how it is actually a bear. I mean, it's technically an omnivore and doesn't actively get aggressive towards people unless provoked, but that hasn't stopped people from hunting them out of fear that it may go after their cattle. Thankfully, some conservation efforts have been raised in order to protect this bear from being hunted down. Number 2. Candiru fish. I decided to do the Candiru fish last because of a certain tale that it's often associated with. No, this is not a fake fish that somebody made up. It is a very real thing, and it can be very, very dangerous to certain creatures. That's because it is a parasitic type of fish. They'll latch on to things like fish through their gills and then literally feast upon their blood. The irony is that this is not only proven, but they have ways of making that happen due to their somewhat small size. They can grow as large as 40 centimeters, but they can also be much smaller than that, which will allow their frames to literally worm into host bodies so that they can do their thing. That alone is monstrous, but it's not actually why we're here. The reason that the fish is on this list is due to a local legend where apparently these fish were infecting humans by going up through the male reproductive channel, if you catch my drift. Allegedly, they would ride the stream from their urine as they went in the river and then get into their organ until they were fully inside the body. The legend became so mainstream that people began to fear this fish more than any other predator. However, there have actually never been any confirmed cases of this happening, so you probably shouldn't fear it happening to you. Plus, the idea of one riding the stream of someone's urine, well, let's just say that's scientifically unlikely, shall we? Number 1. The Amazon River Dolphin. Now you might think of dolphins as not living in a river, but there are plenty of them who do, and the Amazon River dolphin is the large one that resides in the Amazon's water. They are in fact over 2.4 meters in length and can sometimes be a rather pinkish color. Not something that you would expect from a dolphin, but there it is. These dolphins are incredibly well adapted to the murky waters of the Amazon, where visibility is often extremely low. Instead of relying heavily on sight, they use advanced echolocation to navigate through submerged trees and tangled vegetation. Their flexible necks allow them to move their heads in ways most dolphins cannot, helping them maneuver through tight spaces. In some areas, locals have long believed these dolphins possess mystical qualities, often appearing in folklore as shape-shifting beings. Stories describe them transforming into humans at night, blending myth with the mystery of their unusual appearance. Their pink coloration can become more intense with age or excitement, making them stand out even more in the dark waters. Observers who have seen them up close often describe their movements as slow and almost deliberate, unlike the fast-paced behavior of ocean dolphins. Despite their gentle nature, they are powerful swimmers capable of navigating strong river currents with ease. Their presence is a key indicator of the health of the river ecosystem they inhabit. As their numbers decline, it signals deeper environmental issues affecting the entire region. The real monsters here are once again humanity, who have not been taking care of the rivers that these dolphins live in, and as a result, their population numbers are in decline. Efforts are being taken, though, to try and help them out. That's all for the beauty and wonder of the Amazon and the many creatures that call it home. Does hearing about these animals make you glad you'll never get near the rainforest? Which one scared you the most? Maybe I missed a creature that could have easily made the list. Let me know in the comments below. Also check out the other cool videos on your screen, and I'll see you next time.